Very welcome to DigiGrow. For those who does not know DigiGrow, as the name says, you want to help companies to grow. That's what it's about. So mainly for those who are not familiar, we have four main axes. One is SME policy, PMIS, SME policy. The second one is the whole industrial policy. The third one is the single market. And the fourth one is space. Like some of you might know, Galileo, Copernicus. Those four things are in fact all managed by DigiGrow. It's a quite big DG. We have something like 850 persons working on DigiGrow. So that's more or less, we are in two buildings. We are here in the main building of DigiGrow. So I'm happy to receive you in the fieldwork of the Committee of the Regions. So it's nice to work together with the Committee of the Regions, of course. And of course with Juanme, who asked me the Spanish way 2 days ago, can you give us a room? And can you give a speech? And can you say welcome? So I accepted to that. I propose that if you accept that I'm starting by explaining you which are the main topics today in the field of startup and scale-up. And we will not do it at school. You all have finished school, I suppose. So I will give you some things and you interrupt me at any time. Okay, so that we should not go to something else. I'll find something which is nicer than this one. And I called it Finnova, Juanme. You don't have anything against that, I suppose? No. So let's start by telling you something. So again, please interrupt me that we have some interactive discussion because I'm paid by the hour. Great. So let's go from startup to scale up and what are the challenges that we should take care of. Everybody understands English, even my English? Great. If not, tell me. Great. So let's start by where are we in the life of a company? And if you look in the life of a company, you still might know, or some might know. Again, if I'm too technical, tell me. We start by some financing thing. So we start and 60% of the companies in Europe are started only by money they got from friends, fools, and family. Sometimes you call it love money. The money is there and the love mostly goes afterwards, but that's another story. 60% start with that. Then you have the business angels. Then you have the former venture capital, and then you have the exits. But, ladies and gentlemen, we have some problems because it's quite easy to find 10,000 euro with a friend and the families. It's relatively easy to find 60,000 with the business angels, but then afterwards you need something like 200, 300, 400, 500,000. This gets really difficult. And if you get a VC then on board, then you need something like 10, 15 million. And that in Europe, it's very, very hard to get. So we have first problem to find what we call this equity in the beginning. Second problem is what we call the scale up gap. You see, and we see that a lot of companies, they get started, they get money, they get subsidies, and then it blocks. And of course, you always see the success stories, but in reality, some of the stories are not success. And then finally, we say that the big thing is IPO, initial public offering. You go on the stock exchange. Well, we see that this is for a happy few, and we even see that in Europe, there's not too much companies going IPO. So you see, these are the three problems that we should attack. For those who have finished the studies not so long ago, you called it the market failure. We have to prove that the market fails before we see what policy can do. So we have there the three market failures, and what I'm going to tell you now is how to fill them up. Okay? Questions until now? Please tell me. Juanma, you can ask questions as well. I know you are very good in that. So the first challenge is what we call the first equity gap. So in the beginning, what we see, you're starting, you get some money, you get 15,000 euro from your aunt from America or from your boyfriend. He gives you money, and then you need more money. Well, we see that we have a shift. You see that today, before getting more money, you have to prove that already you've done something. You have a proof of concept, or you have a marketing study. So we see a shift. It's harder to get the money in the beginning. This is the first challenge, but you will see this is not the biggest one. The second challenge, and I think it's not true in Spain, but in all the other countries it's true, it's what we call the mentality. This is a very interesting slide because it shows a comparison between United States and Europe. If you look right to the right level, we see that companies that are growing fast, companies that are growing 20% or more, we have much more in the United States than in Europe. You see? A difference of 20%. If you go to the left, companies that go bust, or zombies, we have more in the United States than in Europe. Companies in the middle that grow 1%, 2%, steady state grow, not too fast, you have more in Europe than in America. In other words, in America, or you grow, or you go bust. In Europe, slow growth, you see? Or would I say, mediocre growth. You see? So, what we need to do is to see, can we change that mentality? Can we make that our companies who have a growth potential use it? It's not only about starters. It's about companies that use their growth potential. To grow, you need money. Money is always what you need. Look at the deals. If you look very well, Asia to start with, the market in 2018, there was on venture capital, there was 129 billion. It's the first time in history that there is more venture capital in Asia than in America. The first time. United States, 113. I anticipated the Brexit. I exclude UK. That 13 billion left in Europe. 1/10 of Asia. Okay? What does it mean? If you look at an average deal, it means one company, how much money they need. The average deal in Asia is 22 million. United States is 20 million. It means one amount invested in one company. In Europe, it's 6 million. So on average, the amount you get from an investor is 6 million. Do you know, for instance, Skype? Is Skype an European company? Was. It was from Estonia. Now it's from America. How many money did they need? You know, to scale up? They needed 122 million. This means in Europe, you have to convince 20 venture capital funds to invest. Impossible. So you find it where the money is and you move. This is, of course, the drama of Europe. If you look into the world, look what happens. You see for the first time, USA 63, Asia 62. Now they passed in 2018, as I just showed you. And we still have a big potential, to say it positive. Look, facts and figures. You want your picture? I go back for your picture. You see, I'm flexible. No questions in the meantime? Good. Let's move to facts and figures, US, Europe. And there you see, if you look to United States, European Union, you're familiar with this concept, see it early stage, everybody knows that? Okay. In the beginning, we have 7.5 United States, we had 0.7. So 10 times less to find money if you start. If you want to scale up later stage, it's 34 times. So we see the difference. We always say, we need more starters. And here in this house as well, we do something for starters. I'd say, stop with the starters. Let's now focus on those who are there and make them grow. This is, of course, a mental switch. But have you seen, if you read the guidelines of the new president elected from the Commission, look very closely. It's in there. Financing should shift into scale up. Right. What happens with, you see Skype? Skype was there in 2005. It's gone. Skype is not the only one. This is the drama of Europe. 45% of all the companies that started in Europe, that are successful, that are growing fast, leave Europe. And if you say, why do they leave Europe? Because they don't like the climate? No. Because they go to Silicon Valley. It's not about the climate. It's because they don't find the money. 95% says we leave because we have to find the money. And which is very interesting. As Fuame said, I'm a professor at University of Ghent. We made some papers, which I was amazed about as well. If a company looks for money, the company goes where the money is. It's not the money that goes where the company is. So what is mobile? It is the company and not the money. So if the money is United States, the company goes to United States. That's what happens. And that's, of course, for Europe, this is the drama that those companies that we invested in, that you gave regional subsidies, that we gave European support, that we gave IPR support, that we gave venture capital funds, those companies leave Europe once they really create employment, and they go away with employment and with the IPR. And that's, I think, one of the challenges we should look at. Okay. If you want to know more about it this evening, you don't know how to sleep, read my paper. You can download it freely from the website. It's a very good paper. Isn't it, Juanma? Yes, huh? Yes, he has to say yes now. Great. IPO. It's a very volatile sector. And you see IPO, we had last year more delistings than listings. So companies are withdrawing from the market. So again, that's something we should look at, how we should see this in the future. So let's do it like in school. Let's wrap up what I said until now. 44% are leaving. Later stage, 34 times more in United States. We are still untapped IPO potential. And this is very important, and there I would like to have your discussions about. 10 years ago, out of all venture capital, and I give you the figures, 9% was public. 9. Today, 39. You see, friends, a lot of regions in Spain, venture capital funds or semi-public funds. So there's too much public money involved. If there's too much public money, the private is crowding back. So you see that the global market is quite stabilizing, but the public part in it is getting bigger, which is, of course, a very bad thing to see. So, in other words, you cannot go on by injecting more public money into the markets because you're killing the markets. And that's, of course, a difficult message to get through. 65% of the companies said we don't scale up, we don't find the money. 90%, a study about Roland Berger, don't go there because they don't find the money. And especially to find 15 to 25 million is very hard. And if you could close that, what we call the scale up gap, the scale up manifesto says we could create 1 million jobs. So you see, it's quite interesting. This is analyzing the problem. Do we have questions on the problem? If you have solutions, let me know now. Somebody has solutions? Let me say what solution we are working on now. It's a new scheme that we're going to be set up. The first call will be launched, if everything goes well, by the end of the month or beginning November. It's called Escalar, and I'll show you how it works. And if you can get concentrated for 2 minutes, you should get concentrated now. Okay? Shall we try all? We have money from FC. FC is the European Fund for Strategic Investments. The Juncker Plan, better known as Juncker Plan, the 500 billion. We still have 150 billion left there. We still have 14 months to go. That's money. FC could give a guarantee. A guarantee to whom? Not to venture capital, but a guarantee to people or to pension funds investing into venture capital funds. So we find, I'm on the right side, we find what we call risk-averting investors. Risk-averting investors like a pension fund. A pension fund today, they can hardly invest in venture capital because for the specialists you have BAL 3, you have Solvency 2, so it's very difficult for them to invest. So we say you invest and you give the money. We ask the EIB to issue a bond, and we're going to guarantee, through FC, we're going to guarantee those who invest in venture capital. So we say to those guys, to the pension fund, if you invest in venture capital and things goes wrong, we pay you back. With that money, we'll ask funds, Escalar funds, and I hope we'll have some in Spain as well. You have Escalar funds saying, we want to double our investment capacity. Because what I said before, amounts are small, so we have to double the capacity of the venture capital funds, and we double them by giving them not public money, but private money guaranteed by the public. Now you could say, why are you so stupid to give a guarantee to venture capital? It's risky. You think it's risky? You think it's risky?
No.
Why not?
Because your guarantees the investor.
One, we go for the best funds. Two, we go for different funds, who each of them invest in different companies, which you call the diversification principle. Thirdly, we are guaranteed on the liability side and not on asset side, so there's no negative selection argument. And fourthly, we go for scale-ups. The risk is at startup. Once you're startup, once you scale up, you have low risk. So the same system that exists in the United States, default ratio is zero. You see, if we can do that, default ratio would be zero. We would double the capacity of the funds, and we're not going to put public money, but we're going to mobilize pension funds. You see, it's win-win. You have questions on the scheme? It's not easy, I know, but whoever said, the guys are tough, you can explain high things. Huh? You told that, huh? I show it another way. You have venture capital funds. I have my investees. Investees means in companies in which you invest, which are scale-up companies. You have my equity, which are the equity players. On top of that, we double by something which is called technically quasi-equity. So it's not owned funds, it's not debts, it's between the two. It's like mezzanine. It means that the return will be capped. But in case of losses, very interesting, the public is paid back first, which is another way of thinking. It's a kind of reverse pari passu. So that's what we want to do, and to set it up in the near future. As I told you, the first call will be in a couple of weeks. Yes, of course.
Will the SLR funding investment capabilities follow the rules extended by legislation, taxonomy?
Well, yes, because our principle is that we do not have to reinvent new rules. We have a fund. This fund has raised equity. In that equity, there might be already public money from the European Investment Fund, from the BPI in France, from whatever. So this kind of co-investment, which accepted the rules. We will say we simply add money in quasi-equity for the same investments. I will have some criteria. So we have the basic standard rules of Invest Europe. We'll all apply them. And on top of that, we will say, but we want you to go into scale-up. You see? Now, for those who say, this was too technical for me, you close your eyes 2 minutes, you don't listen. What happens in the United States now, and this will happen with us as well, I set up a company, a new company. I don't have equity investors yet. I go to Escalar. I say, hey guys, if I set up a fund, can I get the Escalar stamp? Yes, you can get it. I first get this. We say, you can have 50 million on the condition that you show that you're capable to raise 50 million equity in the next 2 years. Once I have this, I go to the private investors and say to the private investors, hey guys, hey girls, if you invest in my fund, I have already something like cheap money. So your return, you have what we call an equity kicker, sorry for the jargon. So we have a leverage on the return. So they will be more eager to invest. So it will be easier to raise money. And that's exactly the problem of today. People cannot raise money. And so they don't have, that's why you have the small funds. If you have small funds, you have small investments, and they go away they leave Europe. So that's in fact the idea of setting this up. This will be part of, and now I have to apologize you all are very specialist, and Juan told me that you are very specialist in all these programs. All these things, we put it in the letters. You forget it. Sorry for the knowledge, sorry for everything you've learned. You can throw all your books away. All this is over, past and over. From 2021, everything will be centralized in one fund. We now ask 46 billion, but of course it has to pass through the European Parliament. We have so in that fund we have 4 elements. We have infrastructure, we have social, we have SMEs, and we have the general infrastructure social things. So these were the 4 pillars. But all these programs for which you are specialist and advisor now will cease and will stop next year to exist. And everything will be gathered together in this one. So you can start learning again. It's always nice to learn in life. And now I want to stop. A lot of people tell me in the commission, because it's 2 years I'm working that, they will say, that's a good idea, Rudy. In the beginning, the people don't say. I always use these slides to convince people. Why was the Escalar done before? They said, if it is so good, everybody wins, why didn't you do it before? Well, the reason is this one.